Welcome to the next episode of the BRIO in the Box podcast.
Hi.
Special edition today.
Special edition.
We are going to talk all about the hero workout Murph.
Right.
Murph is iconic, classic workout, huge in the CrossFit community and has grown substantially outside the CrossFit community as well.
Yeah.
So we're going to go all through. We're going to talk about the person that it's named after, Michael Murphy, his heroics and what ultimately brought him to his unfortunate death, how the workout Murph became to be as iconic as it is, and then all of the different ways that we can find your Murph for anyone, everyone to participate and take on the challenge that is Murph. So Lieutenant Michael Murphy was a Navy SEAL in the military during the Iraq and Afghanistan Operation Enduring Freedom in the early 2000s. So he was part of June 28th, 2005, part of Operation Red Wing. The military dropped 4 Navy SEALs, Lieutenant Michael Murphy, Petty Officers Danny Diaz, Matthew Axelson, and Marcus Luttrell, 10,000 feet high in the Hindu Kush Mountains of Afghanistan. The team was to provide reconnaissance for an impending action against a guerrilla leader named Ahmed Shah. Mm-hmm. And the plan twisted southward when some goat herders caught the team's position, and within hours, the SEALs were taking fire on 3 sides by a force of more than 50 anti-coalition militiamen. The SEALs, all wounded, were pinned against cliffs, which blocked the signal they needed to make a distress call.
Right. So Murphy was killed on the 28th of June, 2005, after he left his cover position and went to a clearing away from the mountains, exposing himself to a hail of gunfire in order to get a clear signal to contact headquarters for relaying the dire situation and requesting immediate support for his team. He dropped the satellite phone after being shot more than 14 times, but picked the phone back up, finished the call. While being shot, he signed off saying, "Thank you," then continued fighting for his exposed position until he died from his wounds. So basically, 3 out of 4 of these people died on the mountain. Mm-hmm. 1 person made it to safety. And even worse still, they sent 16 people to, evac them, and that those special forces services were shot down on the rescue mission. So just a terrible, terrible situation all around. Mm-hmm. They ended up making a movie out of it. Marcus Luttrell was the lone survivor, and they named the movie Lone Survivor. So really, really good, but heartbreaking movie for sure.
I believe he wrote a book too.
Yeah.
Lone Survivor, and then it became the movie. Yeah. So if you've seen that movie, Michael Murphy is one of the characters, people featured in that movie. So incredibly,
hell of a guy.
incredibly heroic act of bravery to basically sacrifice himself to save his team.
Yeah. So he's been given 14 awards and decorations, the Medal of Honor, and the Purple Heart. And then they've named a ton of different things off of him. He has, there's the USS Michael Murphy, which is a Navy destroyer. There's all kinds of different monuments. His high school's been named after him. Really, he's just a hero. He's an American hero.
Yeah, for sure. And I think politics and national allegiances aside, I think we can all just recognize an incredible act of bravery when we see it, that he was just that guy. And there's a great article written by Men's Health a couple years ago about him. There's some quotes from his dad talking about what he was like as a kid. He was just that guy that was going to do something like that. And then sort of an interesting bunch of circumstances. So this Dr. Joshua Appel, who was a member of CrossFit Albany, so this is in 2007, he hears about his CrossFit gym doing this workout called Murph. And he's like, I wonder if that's the same Murph, because he happened to be in the military at the same time. And he was part of the pararescue team that ultimately went in after this tragedy and extracted Marcus Luttrell and recovered the body of Michael Murphy. Right. So, just a real serendipitous kind of situation that this former military officer doctor happened to be in this CrossFit gym. Mm-hmm. They were doing Murph, and then realized that was a person that he knew personally. So
he was the one that basically made it into a fundraising event that was sort of nationally starting to be done.
Yeah. So Michael Murphy had found CrossFit, and this was the early days. There was only, they said, 13 CrossFit gyms at the time. But where the original CrossFit HQ in Santa Cruz, California, the one that Greg Glassman started way back when, was just down the road from Camp Pendleton where the SEALs would train. So they had a strong tie to the military, and lots of these Navy SEAL guys would come and train at the original CrossFit in Santa Cruz. So when he decided to enlist in the military, Michael Murphy started training for what he thought would be the needs of a military officer. And then he found CrossFit. And so they figured they needed to train CrossFit style, but for the specific needs of a SEAL. So they push, they pull, they lift, they wear body armor. So he put together this workout that Michael Murphy called Body Armor.
Yeah.
Starts and ends with a 1 mile run, and then involves 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats. Yeah. And he figured he had done 3 previous tours in, where was he? Jordan, Qatar, and Djibouti. And then his 4th tour took him to Afghanistan. But he put this workout together because he's like, very little equipment. Yeah. You can do this anywhere. They always have body armor, even if they don't have other weights or anything. And they can almost always find a tree branch or a door frame or something to do some pull-ups on. So it became a workout, and they had done it, I think they said 3 times at the original CrossFit gym before Michael Murphy had died. And then they decided to name the workout after him because it was his favorite workout. He called it Body Armor. So they said, this was CrossFit.com, August 18th, 2005. So a couple months after he died in action. And they said, this will forever be known as Murph, named after him. The print is kind of small here. And so they said, partition the pull-ups, push-ups, and squats as needed. And that was part of the challenge of Murph. So they said it was very good at creating camaraderie among the guys, because they would all do the first mile run together. So it led to a lot of camaraderie and team cohesion. But because it called for partitioning the reps, there was some strategy involved. Right. So keeping in mind it was meant to be done as a military training exercise to get ready for combat. They go, here's your mission. You need to execute the mission as fast as possible, partition the reps as needed in order to make it as fast as possible. So the partitioning is part of the workout. It's part of the challenge. Right from its earliest originations, the strategy is part of it.
Yeah. And I think people will see it written on the website as 100, 200, 300 and mistakenly assume that that's the full Murph. That's the RX Murph, but it's not. The goal was to complete the mission as quickly as possible.
With some strategy.
And Murph, and remember, this is like out in the desert using who knows what for pull-ups. His average times were around 32 to 35 minutes.
Mm-hmm. He's a Navy SEAL, he's very fit guy.
Super fit. And like he did this one frequently, right?
Yeah.
But that's the stimulus. That's the goal. That's the thing. It's like, how fast can you get this mission done?
Mm-hmm. So that's like the origination of the workout.
Yeah.
And so then it showed up on CrossFit.com in 2005. It started to become a thing that other CrossFit gyms would do. So this was 2007. This Dr. Appel goes, hey, like we should make this a Memorial Day thing. This is a great workout. He felt personally connected to the challenge of it. So the first year there was like 15 of them on Memorial Day, decided to do Murph wearing their body armor. Dr. Appel said he kept the body armor he wore when he recovered Murphy's body. So it had, strong significance to him. And then it grew from there. It just became a bigger and bigger event with more affiliates doing the same thing. Eventually they made a website and they created a foundation, the Murph Foundation, which funds education. Michael Murphy felt strongly that education was freedom. So it's a scholarship foundation. So now they have the Murph Challenge. It's a whole website. You can sign up, you can do fundraising, you donate, you get a t-shirt, and it goes into the Michael Murphy Scholarship Fund. And so this Dr. Appel was quite a big player in bringing the Murph Challenge and the Murph Foundation to the wider world. So it's that's kind of where it took off and gained significance. And it's certainly branched out outside of the CrossFit community. This Men's Health article that I'm kind of flipping through, they talk about Chris Pratt did it, and The Rock did it, and John Krasinski from The Office, and Danica Patrick. So like you'll see on Instagram more like non-CrossFitters, but taking on this challenge. So I think as it grew outside the CrossFit community, there are some things that people who are not typical CrossFitters need to understand about what this workout represents.
For sure.
So now they call it the Murph Challenge because I think, they said they needed to make it clear that like, that's a big workout. It was done by Navy SEALs. These guys are no joke. You can't just like not train for this kind of thing and take on the full Murph and wear vest, you're like, you'll die.
This isn't a fun run 5K you do with your friends.
Yeah. But I love this quote, and this is Dr. Appel. My saying is, what's your Murph? You don't have to be a Navy SEAL to do this workout. Sure, it helps, but you can scale it and anyone can do Murph. Can't do pull-ups? Okay, do ring rows. Can't run? Okay, you got to row. Even if you're in a wheelchair and you're 90 years old, we can create something for you.
Right.
So I want everyone to do Murph. I want everyone to take on something a little harder than usual, a little longer than usual, train for it, and I always say there's no complaining in Murph.
Yeah.
You don't get to be a princess. You don't get to be,
Need your favorite bar.
you don't get to be a whiny baby basically on Murph Day. Cause this is, if we keep in mind, this is a guy that would do this workout in the desert of Qatar, doing pull-ups on a door frame or something. And then this is the kind of guy that in a hail of gunfire made the call to save his buddies, and signed off saying thank you. Yeah. You don't get to, this is the day to be tough. For sure. Basically. So, but we also need to be smart. That's right. And tough on Murph Day.
So when we do an entry-level Murph, first time around, we generally realize that the volume is the problem, right? So what we'll do is we'll use a 30-minute clock. And we'll say, okay, everybody's going to do the run, because even if you walk and jog and run and whatever you do,
you can get around the block.
The mile is our mile block.
Yeah.
And so let's say it takes you 10 minutes to do your run. You now have 20 minutes to work through as many rounds of Cindy, which is 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats, as you can get with that 30-minute clock running. So let's say you get 12 rounds done. We hit 30 minutes. You go out the door and you do your final run. So that version is going to make you somewhere in the 40 to maybe 42 or 43 minute range with both runs, and a 20 minutes worth of Cindy, right?
Yeah, and a decent amount of volume. Yeah. So that partitioning the reps means any order you want.
Yeah. We always just recommend Cindy because it's a pretty standard thing that we do all the time, and
the math works out.
And it's a very manageable number of each of those movements, right? 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats. You can keep a pretty good pace going on those reps.
Yeah. Years ago, I made this Murph poster, and I'll put it up here, of lots of different partitioning options. Yeah. So classic style is rounds of Cindy. My personal favorite is the push-up saver. Sets of 10 push-ups at a time does start to slow me down at some point. So I usually go 5 push-ups, 5 pull-ups, the other 5 push-ups, and then the 15 air squats. Right. And that seems to be just enough. I can usually stick to the sets of 5. Sometimes I'll do 6 push-ups, 5 pull-ups, 4 push-ups, 15 air squats, whatever. Right. The idea is splitting them up a little more to keep the pace, right? If we keep in mind that the point was to execute the mission as fast as possible, that's how I do it, as fast as possible, so I don't get stuck resting too long. So, lots of different options. We could be doing ring rows and jumping pull-ups and box push-ups and air squats. All of that's totally fine. Once you can do 20 rounds of Cindy, so by the 30-minute mark, once you can get your mile run and 20 rounds of Cindy done. So if you can run faster than a 10-minute mile, you maybe run in 8 minutes. You've given yourself 22 to get your rounds of Cindy. Yeah. Then the next one is maybe we give you a little bit. So maybe you do scaled movements like jumping pull-ups or box push-ups, and we keep repeating the scaled movements until you can get 20 rounds. So you get accustomed to the volume, right, but lesser difficulty. Then the next one would be, we'd give you up to 40 minutes to RX the movements. So now you're doing full pull-ups, full push-ups. Yeah. But now we give you a little bit longer, up to 40 minutes. You get your mile run, and then you, at the 40-minute mark, that's the time cap, and you go do the last mile run. And we keep repeating that version until you can get 20 rounds of Cindy. Yeah. So that one has you done around 50-ish
And minutes. That would be a full RX Murph, because you're doing the full volume of the full movements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So once you've gotten your 20 rounds of Cindy with that version, then you've done a full Murph. Yeah. And then you would try to repeat the full Murph until you can do it under 40 minutes. Yeah. So now you're doing under 10-minute miles. You're doing your 20 rounds of Cindy under 20 minutes, and you're coming in 35, 38, 39 minutes. You're under 40. Yeah. Once you can do it at the speed, then you would add the vest. Right. And then you'd kind of go back to giving yourself a little bit longer up to the 40-minute time cap, because now the next level up is to add the body armor. Yeah. So usually 20-pound vest for the guys, 14-pound vest for the girls, although some of the original guys that were involved in the Murph workout said, you just wore whatever body armor you had. Like some of the guys, depending on your position and rank, were wearing heavier gear, and some of them were wearing different stuff. They just wore whatever was their gear they were going to wear in the military. So generally now though, it's 20 pound for the guys, 14 for the girls. We could also add difficulty or like level up by trying to do bigger sets.
Right.
If you can do bigger sets, there's less transition time. It will be faster.
If you can hold on to the
If you can hold on to it, right? So once you're good at volume and you can do big sets. So there's a version that you do 5 rounds of 20 pull-ups, 40 push-ups, and 60 air squats. If you can be doing those sets largely unbroken, it'll go faster because there's just less time lost to transition time. Do you want to talk about the CrossFit Games?
Yeah.
So the 2015 CrossFit Games, we were there.
We were there, and it was very hot on the field that day.
It was in California.
And they did an unpartitioned Murph with a vest on. So we're talking the CrossFit Games, the highest level of athlete in CrossFit. And it was devastating. People were being taken out on stretchers. People were passing out, heat exhaustion. It was just like, it was debauchery.
We watched Annie Thorisdottir like collapse, like her legs gave out trying to come around into the stadium on the last run.
Yeah. And it's, they're in a competition, right? So they are pushing the limits for sure. But the level of effort compounded with the like vests in the heat, compounded with the fact that it was an unbroken Murph, like it was rough, right?
And they noted though that Murph was done in the desert with body armor on. So those CrossFit Games athletes doing it in the heat of Southern California in the StubHub Center, that's what it was. That was the challenge, but it broke some of them.
And for sure. And when you looked at the times, like the fast people were still like in and around that 40-minute range, right? So
I think they said BKG, Bjorgvin Carl Gudmundsson, did it like 38 minutes or something.
Yeah. So they're, even though with all those, extra levels of difficulty, they're still in and around a reasonable amount of time on Murph, right? Mm-hmm. So it's great that at that level, people are able to do that kind of thing. But if you are just an average CrossFitter who struggles to get, 10, 15 rounds of Cindy in 20 minutes, you are not ready to try to do an unpartitioned, weight vest Murph. Yeah. It's going to take you an hour and a half or longer. And at that point, you're now resting and standing around longer than you're working.
And if we go back to the origination of the workout as a military mission, if you're standing around and taking 2 hours to execute the mission, I think you failed the mission. Yeah. I think the mission over. So I feel like when they did it unpartitioned in the CrossFit Games, it was 2015. I feel like a lot of people took that to mean that the only way to do Murph is unpartitioned. If it's not unpartitioned, it's not a real Murph, which is false.
Yeah. And then a few years later, they redid it. And
next year.
Oh, it was the next
2016,
year. Okay.
Yeah.
So they redid it, this time the 5-round version, right?
Yeah.
So still big sets, but they did get to break it up. And, way less devastating. Plus people kind of like that were there for both years had that reminder like, okay, this isn't something I can just like show up for and whatever, I got to prep for this. Mm-hmm. So I think they told them ahead of time by a fair amount that they were going to be doing a Murph that year. And they did kind of warn them, like, be ready because it could be super hot and it could be whatever. And it's like, give them a little bit of a thing to prep for.
I think it's important to note that even the programmers of the CrossFit Games acknowledged that doing an unpartitioned Murph was a terrible idea because when they did it again the next year, they did a partitioned version. Yeah. So if there's one like myth out there that I could bust about this, it's that you're supposed to partition. The strategy is part of it.
Yeah.
That the point of Murph isn't just to make it so hard and heavy and long that it takes 2 hours. Yeah. Not the point of this whole thing.
For sure. So the main point of the workout is the total movements and the volume, right? That's what makes it really difficult. It is a lot of volume, but a lot of volume spread out over a long time, the intensity drops. It makes it not as hard. So if you use a vest and that adds 20 minutes to your time, you're not ready for a vest. Yeah. If you can, do that same full workout, partitioned in a way that allows you to get it done in like 40 minutes or less, you're probably ready to try it for a vest. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean you go straight from like Cindy style with no vest to game style with a vest, right? You got to like baby step in all of the different areas because all those things make it more difficult.
I think the first time I got Murph under 40, the next time I did it with the vest, I wore the vest for the first half.
Yeah.
I did the first run with it and the first 10 rounds of Cindy, and then I took it off to keep the speed because I just recognized that my pace was dropping and I was losing the mission.
Yeah.
And so I dropped some of the gear. So there, even that was like a hybrid version where I did the second half and the last run without the vest.
Yeah.
Because I just recognized that I wasn't keeping the appropriate stimulus of the workout. There are some other partitioning options that I think are kind of fun. Mini sets, 33 rounds of 3 pull-ups, 6 push-ups, and 9 squats. Sometimes that works better for people. You don't get hung up on any one thing, especially if you want to like try to RX the pull-ups and push-ups and you just want to do 3 and 6 at a time. It leaves you with one little funny round at the end of 1 pull-up, 2 push-ups, and 3 air squats.
That's the round you tear your hands on.
The 1 pull-up at the end.
Pull-up. Damn it.
The 99th to the 100th pull-up. The leg saver. So sometimes people will find after you've done 300 air squats, you go to do that last mile run and you're like just running with these like tree trunks that don't want to move. So you can do 15 rounds of 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, and 20 air squats. And then the last 5 rounds, you're only doing 5 pull-ups and 10 push-ups. You're letting your legs have a break the last few minutes before you run out the door. And then maybe that last run goes a little better for you. Any of those options, I have seen people just wing it.
Yep.
And just like, I don't know how your brain keeps track of the reps, but they're just being like, I'm going to do 30 air squats. Then I'm going to do 7 pull-ups.
Yeah.
Like,
just chip
sure.
away.
Yeah. If you want to just wing it, whatever keeps you moving is what works.
For sure.
For sure. And then like, as this workout branched outside of the CrossFit community, I think the other big thing that people need to appreciate is that there are standards and we work with integrity on those standards.
Yep.
And so I have seen people, non-CrossFitters say, I did Murph, and they're posting these times of like 28 minutes or 31 minutes. And then you see the video and it is garbage.
Yeah. Half rep everything.
Half rep bro reps and like not going all the way down on push-ups, not standing up on air squats, you know, not straightening arms on pull-ups. And I consider that to be extremely disrespectful to the memory of this very heroic person to just basically like shit on his favorite workout with garbage movements.
Yeah.
It makes me like upset when I see stuff like that. I wish it didn't, but it kind of does for people that just like, they don't understand. They don't know what they don't know. And then they're out there to just brag about it, which also really rubs me the wrong way to be like, I'm so fast at Murph when you just cheated basically the whole time. Like,
and like you said, they probably don't know what they don't know because they've never actually like had anybody tell them any different. But we're telling you now.
And I mean, we're preaching to the choir, right? Like we literally, there's a banner on the wall that says leave no doubt, right? That's our integrity piece. You leave no doubt that every rep was legit, that, you know, if you were on video, that every rep would be a good rep. And that if you had counting accurately, if you had a judge next to you, it would be the exact same, right? It would be no different than what you're doing in that moment. So to honor the memory of a guy that obviously lived his life with an unbelievable amount of integrity and willingness to sacrifice for the greater good and all that kind of stuff, that we honor that memory by working as hard as we can, executing the mission as fast as we can, moving with integrity, doing it while not complaining,
and that's
being tough about it.
That's the whole point of the hero workout in general, not just Murph, right? It's like, take some time to suffer, to like acknowledge the suffering that other people have done for the greater good. You know, like it's just, that's what hero workouts are all about.
And it's become a thing in the CrossFit community. It's how we honor the memory of those people. And, you know, different people or different cultures have different ways of honoring, you know, the deaths of people and heroes in their world. And through the CrossFit community, we do it through like fitness.
Yeah.
It's how we do it.
Yeah.
So we usually do a Murph Monday of the May long weekend, and usually again in the fall.
Yeah. So we're in a weird situation here because we go into Murph and it's like, we've just started running, you know, like it's kind of a real kick in the teeth to like jump into your first few running workouts with 2-mile runs. So we try to do way more prep leading up to Murph than we do any other workouts, just because it is a very big one and we don't want people to get hurt and we want people to feel prepared. So we do a lot more prep in the like 4 to 6 weeks leading up to Murph. But then we try to do it again at the end of the summer when we've had a full summer of, you know, running and just basically being outside more.
Yeah.
So I always like to tell people your May long weekend version should basically be set a standard. Like, what do I need to do to get through this quickly and make it and feel good afterwards, right? Set your standard. And then in the fall, when we repeat, that's the one where you try to like PR or improve on your last result. Or if you crushed it the first time, you can add some difficulty on the second time, you know?
And I think that's like, we give you 2 chances in the year.
Yeah.
So that I never wear a vest the first one, the spring one. I try, my spring goal is to get it under 40 and then, you know, run a little more and get a little faster through the summer. And then if I'm going to add the vest, I always do it on like the second take of the year. So unless you've done Murph under 40 minutes, you have to earn that first. You should not be putting a vest on if you haven't done a Murph under 40 minutes.
I had only ever done a couple of real slow Murphs with a vest, but then now my most recent Murph, I was a lot faster than expected. So now I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to add a vest in pretty soon here.
Yeah, and we do it. The last couple of years, we've done it with Atlas.
Yeah,
he ran with us last year. Was his first RX Murph.
Yeah,
he did
the full thing.
He did AMRAP rounds of Cindy in how long it took me to finish the full volume. So he did RX pull-ups and push-ups and air squats, obviously. Yeah. But I think he got 13 rounds in the time it took me to get 20. Yeah. So I think this year, another year of training, he'll try to do the full thing.
Yeah. And it's still hard. Like that's what I think people don't realize is that like if you get through 13 rounds in like 20 minutes of Cindy style stuff, like those 13 rounds in your first 20 minutes are going to be a lot more intense, a lot harder than doing 7 rounds in the next 20 minutes, just slow. And like, you're doing 1 push-up at a time. It's like your body's just being broken down, right? You're destroying all your muscles and ligaments and bones and everything, but your intensity is so low that you're basically just suffering, you know, like you're not really benefiting anymore from that. So, you know, like we said, figure out a way to make it fast and use it as an opportunity to come up with a strategy and test it out and then retest it in the future. Yeah.
And it's, you know, we kind of, lots of CrossFit is like playing along with the very fit people. So this is where you get to play along and pretend you're a Navy SEAL. So put yourself in the mindset of like, okay, you're training for something serious. You're going to execute a mission. You need to do this as quick as possible. Yep. How are you going to do it? What's your strategy? What's going to get you there the fastest, and make the strategy part of the fun. It's part of the challenge, part of the fun. So if you would like to know more, I'm going to post the link to this Men's Health article. It's awesome. It really tells you a lot about like the history of the person that was Murph. And I think that's really cool to understand the kind of person that this is named after. It has lots of good information about the Murph Foundation, the Murph Challenge. Now they actually include on the Murph Challenge website, like for people outside of the CrossFit world, like different training programs to kind of prepare you to do this big thing. So people don't bite off more than they can chew. They have some partitioning options, or even, you know, they have some things on there, like they said in the quote, can't run. Okay. You're going to row, or you're going to air bike, or you're going to do something else, but you know, there's still a way. Even if you're in a wheelchair, you're going to ski erg, you're going to do ring rows, you're going to do, you know, box push-ups. Like there's a way, no matter what, that you can work as hard as you can execute the mission. You can honor the memory of the guy that was Lieutenant Michael Murphy. Yeah. All right. So looking forward to it. Monday of the May long weekend. It's coming.
Coming up soon.
Yeah.
See you guys there.